Well, hello one and all, welcome to Seen Through Glass. Thank you so much to all of you that watched my recent American adventures and all the incredible feedback, but that trip is now over. You find me back in the UK and reunited with my GT3. I'm embarrassed to admit though that since I took this car down to Portugal for the first trial Seen Through Glass / Behind the Glass driving tour back in April, I've only used it twice. And both journeys were less than 100 miles. I mean, it's a great thing that I'm super busy at work and with dad life, but it's not a particularly good thing for my ownership experience of this car. I'm not using it enough. In fact, it'd been so long since I used this thing, I was a little nervous it wouldn't start up this morning. But it did, so let's head to a car wash first, and then the open road, so we can chat about things a little bit more. Now, whilst I haven't driven this car that much the last 4 or 5 months, I have still covered 10,651 miles since I bought it some 20 months ago. Which, look, if I was to sell this car today, would probably still make it one of the higher mileage examples on the UK market. And I always knew this was going to be my road trip car. It's why I specified it in this way, with these comfier seats, no roll cage. I wanted to use it for touring, even if Porsche wouldn't actually give me a GT3 touring allocation. It's got a wing on the back, but I think of it as a touring variant. And it's been fantastic. For that, I have loved every adventure I've done in it. I always feel a bit frustrated or disappointed that I don't use this car that much here in the UK, but I guess there are kind of multiple reasons for that. Firstly, most importantly, I became a GT3 owner and a dad at exactly the same time. Yeah, I took delivery of this car and my daughter from the hospital pretty much in the same week. And so my desire, my ability to go for Sunday morning drives, late night cruises, just to go for a cruise to blow off some steam, just dissipated because I want to be at home with my wife and my daughter. Of course, we installed the rear seats into this car with GT3 belts so that I could go on adventures with my family, and we've done a few cars and coffee mornings and things like that, but my daughter's still a little bit too young to blast off into Europe with her. So yeah, I just don't get out that much in my own cars. But over and above that, if I do, I just feel like driving this car in this country, just not that enjoyable. And it's nothing to do with the firmness of the suspension. I obviously put the standard Pirelli P0 tyres on from a 911 Turbo to kind of aid with just softening down the freneticness of the ride of the 992 GT3, but I've never actually found the ride that bad in general. It's more so that just the UK roads are getting worse and worse. The quality is pretty appalling, bumps and scuffs that you always have to be thinking about, but they're super busy, there's roadworks everywhere, so finding that epic quiet stretch of road where you can really enjoy something like this, it's pretty difficult. And because I've had so many amazing adventures, amazing trips, driving this car on some epic roads through Europe and even on track, I know what it can do. And I spec'd it with a manual gearbox so that I can enjoy it at lower speeds and still have some kind of connection. And I do. I enjoy pottering around and think I love it when I walk away from it at the petrol station. I always look back at it. Like, it's amazing, but I just want to drive it flat out all the time because I know that's how incredible it is. If you're not flat out in a GT3, then what are you doing? So when I get those opportunities to go for a brief drive, or I'm heading somewhere that I know the roads are going to be half decent, genuinely, these days I take the Panamera because it's an all-rounder, or maybe I'll take the Challenge Stradale because of the emotional connection. So maybe I just need to accept the fact that this is, yes, as intended, my road trip car, and whilst it's here in the UK, it will sadly gather a little dust. You probably saw at the beginning, it does gather quite a lot of dust. At the moment, I've been keeping it in a underground car park underneath a block of flats relatively near my house. It's sort of semi-convenient, but it's a dump down there. Every time I go and collect it, it's got spider webs all over it, dust. It's actually had a leak in that car park and it's ruined the front end PPF of this car. It's all stained and bubbling up in areas, so I'm going to have to get that redone at some point. Thank God it has PPF because it's not affected this paint to sample paintwork. But yeah, that's going to change. I'm going to move the car over to Windrush Car Storage, who have maintained or did maintain my 360 Modena so beautifully for all those years, and now look after the Challenge Stradale. And they'll take better care of it than I've been doing for the last 20 months or so. It will also always be on trickle charge, meaning I haven't got to worry about the battery going flat. They'll keep an eye on tyre pressures, all that kind of stuff, to ensure that it's always ready to go. So that's my other hesitance. When I do get the chance to take it out for a drive, I'm like, oh, I haven't got time to wash it, and I haven't checked the tyres recently, and all that kind of stuff. I did speak in Monterey to a few friends about, well, could I get more use, maybe even more enjoyment out of something like a 997.2 Turbo S? It's probably half the value of this car. Maybe I would use it more, maybe it'd be more suited to UK roads. But firstly, I don't actually want to sell this car. Like, I do love this car. And secondly, because of the crazy world of car finance, which is how I purchased this thing, and the fact that I bought it before interest rates went through the roof, and the residual values of GT3s, I pay £1,100 a month for this car. Now, it's a ton of money, but there are very few other cars that could deliver this kind of performance, this kind of sensation, this kind of feeling for £1,100 a month in the UK. And if I was to go and finance something like a 997.2 Turbo S, or go back to a Carrera T because it'd be a little bit more suited to UK roads, I'd probably end up paying more. So yeah, I just need to come to terms with the fact this is my road trip car, and that's what it'll be used for, and just to seek out more road trips. Over the last year or so, a lot of the journeys I've been doing have been in press cars, loan cars, things like that. So maybe I need to get back to doing some more adventures in my own cars, which luckily is around the corner. We have our second Seen Through Glass / Behind the Glass driving tour trial at the end of September, and I'll be using this car for that trip. And I'm super excited. I can't wait to get it back out into Europe. We're going to some places I've visited with it before, but that's no bad thing. It's still something I absolutely adore, this car. Is it a forever car? I've always said I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily have thought it was always going to be a forever car. It might be. I assume at some point I'm going to let it go, but that's no point soon. So right now, I'm going to go take it to Windrush Car Storage, sort of get it all set up there and on the systems. And I think whilst we're there, let's take out the Challenge Stradale, because let's face it, that car hasn't been on the channel for a while either. So we've got some more to talk about. This is not the first time that I've had these two cars together, but it's potentially only the second time, and it's absolutely outrageous. Genuinely. If you told me even 3 or 4 years ago that I was going to end up owning a Challenge Stradale and a factory-ordered GT3, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So it's kind of like the perfect two-car garage for me. It's absolutely pinch myself kind of stuff. And it just reminds me how insane my life is and how grateful I am to all of you for supporting this channel and making my dreams come true. But anyway, before we head out in the CS, this is turning out to be a bit of a garage update, so I might as well quickly talk you through the other cars in the garage. There is, of course, yes, the Boxster. If you didn't see last week's video, that car is, well, staying in the garage and staying in America, at least for the next 6 months or so. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get back out and drive it and do any more adventures with it until the start of next year. There's a tiny chance I've got to head back out to the west coast of America in like November time. It's all a little bit up in the air. So you'll probably see that car again February, March time, 2025. Then there's the Panamera, which of course I already mentioned earlier in this video. That car's turning out to be the perfect daily. I am so happy with it, but it's actually currently at Porsche Guildford in the service centre. Back in July, actually whilst attending Goodwood Festival of Speed, some weird error messages kind of popped up and disappeared again from the dashboard. They were never around for longer than a couple of minutes, but I was like, that's a bit odd. So I booked the car in. Porsche didn't really like what they saw, so they're actually changing some parts under warranty. Now I'm back, actually I think the car's ready, so I can probably go and collect it. I just haven't had time yet. But yeah, love that thing. I am still thinking about potentially colour changing it, doing like a midnight purple wrap, potentially doing a little bit of a power boost. Just going somewhere like Litchfield, doing a little tiny tune, As I mentioned in the reveal video, the car is not slow, but it's not fast. And every now and again, now that I've spent more time with it, I'm doing an overtake on a back road or joining the motorway, and I'm like, I just want a little bit more. So much theatre with that car, it's not always the pace to respond to that. So yeah, I just, let's see. And then finally, there's my dad's Land Rover Defender. Some of you might have seen at the start of the year, I made a video about my dad's Defender. The thing is, over the years, my dad did a lot of work to that car, cosmetically, mechanically. It's a little tired, as Defenders often are. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a full restoration of that car, at least mechanically. I went and visited a company called Cool and Vintage during Drive the World that pretty much sort of took a shell off a Land Rover and just made it brand new essentially underneath and then put the shell back on. And I kind of liked that idea. I want to kind of keep it as my dad's car, but just make it super reliable and working, something that we know we can use whenever we want to, because the family do still use it and it's something that we want to kind of hold on to for a while. It means a lot to all of us. So yeah, if you are a Land Rover Defender restorer or even resto modder, maybe get in touch. And if you're all interested, I might do a series on that. So let me know below, would you like to follow sort of Land Rover Defender restoration series? Or I'll just do it off the channel. But I think that's it. Do I own any other cars? It's quite bad that I have to ask myself that question. Not at the moment, I don't think. Watch this space. So yes, whilst the guys sort of process the GT3 down here at Windrush, let's head out in my challenge to Darley. Gets old. Like, it just never gets old. And wait for it. The downshifts are often better than the upshifts. I love this car. I will never stop loving this car. So where's it been? Because I'm aware that you probably haven't really seen it on the channel since May, I think, when I took it down to the south of France. Well, since then, it's kind of largely been at Windrush Car Storage. Apart from a few times I've taken it to kind of meet friends and family or gone to a few events. Just like with the GT3, I haven't really had a chance to drive it. But let's not forget, this year was all about kind of bedding in with this car. Just in case you don't know, or maybe you don't remember, when I bought the car at the end of last year, basically hadn't really moved for about 10 years, which is never a good thing for a car from this era. So we wanted to take 9 or 12 months just to kind of figure it out, for me to familiarise myself with owning a Stradale, see if any problems would arise. Touch wood, so far no major ones have, and just see if anything was going to pop up that we hadn't spotted prior to me actually purchasing the car. By the way, I have absolutely no idea if you can hear me. I can barely hear myself, which is obviously the best part of a Stradale. It does make it quite hard to film. Interestingly, this car isn't necessarily any better on UK roads than my GT3, but I do use it in the UK a little bit more because, well, you can just get so much more motion and character out of it. It is still very fast, this car. People often say, oh, it's not that quick. I mean, it's super quick. But the fact that you can get all of that up to 40 miles an hour, which is largely thanks to all the work that AV Engineering did prior to my South of France road trip, by just opening the car up, getting the engine timing in place, things like that. Just, all the emotion, it's so raw, it's so light, you hear everything. Then I look down and see the Ferrari badge, it's everything I've ever wanted. So that's why I think I tend to kind of reach for the keys more than I sometimes do with the GT3, even if it is bumpy and hard to drive in this country, because, well, it's still quite wide. Which way am I going? Sorry, I'm a little bit lost there. Let's go down the hill. Whoa. So, have I figured it out? I think I kind of have. I definitely feel more confident in it. Would I blast off on a huge Europe adventure in it? I think yes, but there are a few things that we need to do before I do all of that. Firstly and most importantly, paint a bodywork. One of the first things we realised with this car is it has got a bit of corrosion around the bodywork, and that needs to be worked on, because I like to use my car year round. And so if I'm going to go do some winter adventures with it, try and find some snow, I need to make sure the body's fully sort of sealed. That does mean a full body respray. I've been going back and forth for ages in terms of whether I'd actually change the colour or not. I think I've kind of figured that out, but I'll save that for another video. There's a few more little mechanical pieces we want to do on that last road trip. Above like 80, 85 miles an hour, there's a weird sort of almost sounds like something's flapping on the underside coming from over there. That needs to be looked at. There's a rattle on the exhaust valve. Just a few other bits that AV think that they can improve. Interior trim wise, I want to get all the sticky buttons sorted. A few other bits that I want to tart up. I bought some new harnesses because these ones have become a bit loose. Sound system we want to do, just, you know, various things to make this my perfect CS. Because then in 2025, I really want to launch off on some major adventures. If you remember my final year of ownership with the 360 Modena, I did some proper trips, and there are some adventures that I've always dreamed of doing in a Chance Stradale. Now that I have one, I got to do them. But I just want to make sure that the car is spot on before we set off and do those. But yeah, out here today, busy UK annoying roads, this car is just a joy. It's still outrageous that this is my car. Absolutely outrageous. Well, there you have it. Just a quick update on what's going on with my cars and why maybe you haven't seen them as much as you thought you would, or as much as I would have liked you to have. It's mainly because I've just been super busy driving other cars and doing silly adventures, which I should not complain about, but also the fact that neither car is really suited to the country that I live in. That is a bit silly. Maybe should make me rethink owning them, but I own them because I love them, and I get to do silly adventures with them outside of the UK thanks to all of you. So they're going nowhere, and neither is the Boxster, the Panamera, or the Defender. Yeah, more on that soon. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing more on that car. But what's next on the channel? I wanted to do a bit of an update video for you because I'm back here in the UK after, well, just a summer of madness. Of course, there was that big US adventure with the Boxster, but prior to that, I was moving around a lot, which means I kind of want to hunker down a bit and try and do a little bit more UK content over the next few months. I do still have some trips coming up, of course, that second trial STG/BTG driving tour, but a few other small trips. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more home content, find some good driving roads, prove that somewhere in this country you can get out and enjoy cars. I just don't know where. We'll find out. But yeah, plenty of stuff to come. The podcast is back, some really exciting collaborations and projects coming up, so plenty to be excited about. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and I'll be back with you very soon. Bye-bye.